What is going on? What is going on? Welcome back. It is Sunday morning. I'm sure you guys have a ton of questions of Jordan Mason and Zach Charbonnet and AJ Brown varieties. We did have a couple questions sent in to us, so we're going to rip through those first. A reminder, if you guys do want to submit us a question, the link down below in the description of this live stream is how you can go ahead and do so. We do prefer these to super chats if possible, but of course, we'll try and get through as many free questions as possible. And also, too, we will try and get through all of your super chats. We definitely will get all of your super chats. Let's start with KMR's question here, Danny.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Now, it does say here, this is a redraft one quarterback 10-team league where you start 7 in your lineup. Again, also a half PPR. He would be trading away, I believe, Amon-Ra St. Brown in exchange for Rashee Rice and Nathaniel Dell, or Tank Dell, obviously. It's funny seeing his full name written like that. But in a deeper format, like if this was a 12-team, like 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, I'd do that. But start 7, that is what? 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty shallow starting lineup. This is kind of a tough question because I think
it's
this
a
is
Amon-Ra
really good
settings.
return. Like these are 2 really solid wide receiver pieces that you feel good about starting each and every week. But St. Brown is a stud. I mean, you've called Rashee Rice, St. Brown though. So like if you think that highly of Rashee Rice, like you probably have him as a top 15, top 12 receiver rest of the season. I think you would probably have to do this if you needed the starters.
And that's the thing. Again, unless you're completely pressed for depth, like if you're pressed for depth, I would absolutely do it because this is a deal where I think you're getting a wide receiver 1 and a potential, wide receiver 2 or 3 rest of the season with Tank Dell. The problem though is if you aren't pressed for depth in a 2 wide receiver 1 flex league, Amon-Ra St. Brown is just such a hammer in your lineup where, again, if you need the depth, I think this is a fine transition to make. But knowing this is a 10-team league, knowing that this is as shallow of a starting lineup as you can get, I think I still want Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I think I'm probably on the same page. If this was a full PPR 12-team start 9 or start 8 even potentially, I think I would take Rashee Rice and Dell. But in a shallow league format, I think you have to go with St. Brown there. So I appreciate the question there, KMR. We can probably hit Ben Dog's question here.
Yep, I clicked next, and we are on to the next question here from Ben Dog. He offers away James Conner in exchange for JSN. He says, this is a keeper league that started last year, which I joined this year with another new guy. Me and him took turns drafting from the remaining pool to get our keeper players. I threw Conner on the trade block because I feel he might have significantly less value next year and wanted to sell, and that's basically what he offers here with JSN. So, again, this is a 1 quarterback, 12-team league, start 7 PPR format. Knowing it's a keeper league, do you keep James Conner's potential point production at the running back position this year, or do you transition into potentially a better keeper? Again, I don't know how many guys you can keep. It hasn't really listed here, but I just want to gauge your thoughts first before we get into it.
Yeah, I mean, it would really depend if you're trying to win this year. Like if you have a very competitive team, I think you could definitely make the argument to roll with James Conner here. But I think they're close enough that if it's like a 2 or 3 year keeper and you can keep, 2, 3, 4 plus players, I think I'm cool taking JSN here, especially in full PPR too. Connor's going to lose a little bit of value relative to JSN. So I think I like JSN, but it would completely depend on where your team is at. Like if you have the best 1 or 2 teams in the league, you should probably just keep Conner.
Yep. I would agree. So which one are we going to declare the winner here?
I would say probably Smith and Jigba in most situations, unless you were just a full status like monster team.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do that. JSN is the winner. Appreciate the question as well. Another one here, mainly just trying to figure out who to go with this week at wide receiver and flex. Obviously, Waddle already played, so he's the only lock in the lineup so far. So we're not going to look at Waddle. Obviously, we have to take Jake Ferguson out. He is doubtful of this game. So Colby Parkinson will be your starting tight end. No ifs, ands, or buts, because, again, Jake
Ferguson's been rolled out already.
Yeah, he's been rolled out. Yeah, so it is a 1 p.m. game. So, yeah, he was ruled out. Barkley's going to be a lock. Assuming
Ridley
you have
and Ty Chandler are probably the ones that we need to look at here.
Yeah, so he says wide receiver 3 and flex. So we'll take a look here. Ridley versus Robinson, McMillan, Roma Dunze, JSN. I'm going to Demarcus Robinson. I want pieces of that game environment going up against the Rams and Cardinals game. I don't want any part of the Jets and Sauce Gardner for Ridley in that Titans offense.
Yeah, I actually have Demarcus Robinson 1 spot higher as well, so I would also go with Demarcus Robinson. It might be a moot point here because you could put Ridley in your flex, I would imagine, but let's take a look here.
Well, let's go through this now. Now that we have the opportunity to know that Roma Dunze is expected to play Sunday night, there is no Keenan Allen ruled in potentially yet, or he's at the very least questionable. It's looking like he's not going to play. Again, it's tough. I would say you don't play Rome Odunze because it is Sunday night. We have so little information to work with. But if we had the knowledge that it was Allen to be out and Odunze would be playing, would you go with Ridley, JSN, or Odunze in that spot?
I have JSN and Robinson higher than Ridley and Odunze. Even with Odunze in, I would play Robinson in the wide receiver spot and then JSN in the flex. Actually, he has Charbonnet. I would be playing Charbonnet for sure. Yeah, Charbonnet's the lock there. You got to play Charbonnet with Walker out. But JSN versus Robinson and Ridley, like those guys are legit 43, 44, and 45 in my rankings this week. Like they're all so close, but I do have Robinson ranked the highest.
I have Robinson even higher than you. I have Robinson in my top 36. I want piece of that game environment.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think Robinson is the best play there, though, to be honest, especially knowing you're starting Charbonnet, too. You don't need to go overboard on a 38 over-under game with JSN.
For sure. Again, appreciate the question. Hopefully that helps you out. And yeah, we'll go on to the next one here from Marcelo. He says, my team is quarterback, Fields and Williams. Running backs are Bijan Robinson, JT, Moss, Spears. Wide receivers, Kupp, Rice, Waddle, Worthy. Wow. Really nice quartet there. And then tight end, you do have Trey McBride. So very strong team overall. He got offered basically somebody would be giving him Garrett Wilson and Aaron Jones in exchange for Jonathan Taylor and Xavier Worthy. So knowing the context that he does have Bijan, he's basically saying here, I want to strengthen my wide receiver spot in a full PPR league and potentially downgrade. The only issue that I have here is that I think as much as I like Garrett Wilson, like, what do you view it between these? Because I just think the discrepancy between Worthy and Jones is so big.
This is like a really, really tough trade.
Fair trade.
Cipher through because like I think it's pretty fair for both sides. You're getting a pretty significant upgrade at wide receiver, obviously, but you're also getting a pretty significant downgrade at running back, especially like I view Worthy as maybe kind of like a little bit of a sell high right now because of the Marquise Brown news and because of what he did in week 1. And Garrett Wilson kind of is like a little bit of a buy low. So I kind of like that framework of it. But Aaron Jones sketches me out, man. Like he just totally, like the second he deals with any kind of like hamstring pull or ankle injury, like I just get really, really worried for him. So I think I lean the Jonathan Taylor and Worthy side, but it is close.
The way I view this is as much as I prefer Garrett Wilson to be the top player in this deal, like Jonathan Taylor had the biggest workload of any running back in week 1. There's going to be better overall efficiency days than what he saw in week 1. And just the discrepancy between Jones and Worthy for me, like you can make the case right now, if Worthy has a game like he did in week 1, maybe even sees more targets, he could be a top 25 wide receiver rest of the season. Whereas with Aaron Jones, I'm extremely worried both in terms of the complex of this offense or the construct of this offense, as well as just Jones himself. Like, is he going to play 12 plus games?
Yeah, no, you don't have to worry about Jones when he's healthy. When you have to worry about him is the second he pops up on an injury report, which for a 30-year-old running back is going to be very soon. So if you have Aaron Jones, he has another monster game against San Francisco today. He should be absolutely one of the biggest sell highs in fantasy.
For sure. So again, we will go with the Taylor and Worthy side, I believe, here.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going with it. I feel really good about saying that Wilson and Taylor are closer than Jones and Worthy, at least in terms of my rest of season rankings. I think that's where I'm at with it.
If he can give you a better running back than Jones, though, I don't mind making this move. It's just if you can get up to like, even if that was like,
would you do that for Ramondre Stevenson?
It's funny how we thought of the same name. I would do it for Ramondre.
Yeah, I think Ramondre Stevenson or like James Conner or like somebody like that would be probably where I'd be at with it.
For sure. So we'll click the next question button. We'll answer this in a couple seconds. We do have a couple supers as well. We'll quickly interject with. First one, Schultz, Parkinson, Henry, rest of the season, neat points also for today. I like Colby Parkinson personally. I do.
I'm starting Parkinson. I am starting Parkinson over Henry in one league. So definitely today I would start Parkinson over Henry, but I actually would prefer Schultz over both of these guys. Just again, with Schultz, you're kind of screwed as far as like projection week over week because he's the fourth target. AJ Brown ruled out officially.
Oof. Yeah, you know who has him in the flock league, right?
Who?
Badaki.
Oh yeah, that's tough for him. Good for you, I guess. But
I mean, I'm not going to say anything. Again, he's got such a great squad. He's going to be able to overcome me. Again, I'm just having an inferior team. It's unfortunate, but
Evan Ingram suffered a pregame hamstring injury and has been ruled out as well.
Wow. So I'll go Parkinson. By the way, you'll go Schultz here.
I would go Schultz rest of the season, but I would actually start Parkinson today. If it's just today, I would start Parkinson. But rest of the season, I would prefer Schultz.
So we'll continue going in the normal order, but I do see A young Salvetra here. Appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate the super as well. Keep crushing it, fellas. Enjoy week 2, boys. Enjoy week 2. I mean, you got a big time bounce back performance coming after Corey was able to take you down in week 1, eh, Sal?
Yeah, hopefully the guy that you play this week doesn't make a generational comeback. But you know what, Sal? You had the bad Thursday night game this week as opposed to last week when you had the great Thursday night game. So Sal had Josh Allen going in our flock league and didn't really have the greatest performance. But I believe, was it Avery?
He's got Jonathan Taylor. He's got Jonathan Taylor against the Packers, who just allowed Saquon Barkley to score 3 touchdowns, and Jonathan Taylor scored 45 touchdowns in his 49 starts. So, like, I feel confident you're going to at least get a touchdown, possibly 2 or 3 like Barkley did last week. So, hopefully for your sake, you're able to get back to one-on-one because the philosophy of, like, seeing the 1-1 or the psychology of seeing the 1-1 versus the 0-2 is just completely different, and I think you'll be able to get it done.
It is a big difference, but you should probably not panic in either case. If you guys get down 0-2 after this week, you should probably not panic in either case, depending on how good your team is. Like, I mean, if you're scoring the least amount of points in your league, you might have a shakeup.
I've won championships starting 0-2 before. I've won.
I have too. Yeah, in 2020, the first time I went back to back in my home league, 2020 and 2021. The first championship I won in that year was 0-2 start.
Big shout out. I think I did actually. I probably didn't do it in 2019 because my team was so good. It was like the last year I won in my home league. I had like McCaffrey, Lamar's MVP year. I had Andrews, I believe, on that team. I had like Nick Chubb, like Devontae Adams. Like the team was just absurdly stacked.
I don't know about you, but I need to like keep knocking on wood these days because all of these players that are going down, AJ Brown, Christian McCaffrey, Hollywood Brown, Puka Nacua, I have no exposure to any of them. Like, I'm getting so lucky exposure wise to some of these guys. Like, I don't have Christian McCaffrey or Puka Nacua in a single redraft or dynasty league, not one. Like, I'm getting lucky here. Like, I really need like the guys that are going out to not be players that I roster highly. But yeah, let's get to some more supers and then we'll weave back in some of the flock questions there.
Yep. Again, appreciate you, Sal, for popping in and appreciate the $20, brother. Beanie Weenie thoughts traded CMC for JT in a standard league. Running back twos were Chase Brown, Dowdle, Javonte, rest of roster, Nico, London, Rice, Daniels, and McBride. Honest to God, I've been meaning to tweak my rest of season rankings. Is CMC a top 15 running back rest of season?
He's probably a top 15 running back, but he's definitely not
top 10.
Jonathan Taylor.
I agree, but like, where's the cutoff for you? Like, would you take Isaiah Pacheco or CMC rest of the season?
I would take Pacheco.
Would you take Jordan Mason or CMC rest of the season? I think that's the combo.
I would take McCaffrey then over Mason. Again, obviously it depends where your team is at. If you're 2-0, then you would definitely take McCaffrey. If you're 0-2, you'd probably take Mason.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm like, just when I'm looking at the situation, and you know the Niners, regardless of if they have CMC or not, are probably going to win 12, 13, 14 games in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
If you know your 28-year-old running back making $13 million a year is going to be banged up during the regular season and you can save him for the playoffs without actually taking a huge loss in terms of your win equity, like the Niners have no reason to rush him back. Like if this if this was like the Jaguars or if this was like, you know, like a third tier contending team trying to make the playoffs, that's one thing. But like the Niners could literally be without McCaffrey, be without freaking Kittle for the entirety of the year and win 11 games. Like they're that good of a team.
Yeah, no, they are. And I think sneaky winner of this injury is Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle specifically. I think Ayuk, like I nearly talked about him in our buy lows video this week, but I have a feeling he could erupt today and be right back where we all thought Ayuk would be, which is as a top 10 receiver.
Well, the short that I recorded today actually had the Deebo higher on 83.5 yards from scrimmage against the Vikings, and he had 17 opportunities in week 1, and 8 of them were carries. So when you're contextualizing that situation, we know that the Niners are going to be running an efficient run scheme. We know that even though the Vikings front you've mentioned has been a good front overall against the run, they run
blitz a lot. That's why they're good against the run. It's the same reason why the Bucs are good against the run. It's that they run blitz a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the Brian Flores special, but when you're getting a receiver that can have 15 plus opportunities in a single game, 83.5 just seems so low.
Yeah, no, it does. And like I said, I think Deebo being used more as a running back actually is very good for Ayuk and Kittle too.
Yes.
Because that means the target competition becomes a little bit less if Deebo is being used completely as a hybrid like that.
Yeah, for sure. I actually quickly want to point this. So we answered this question. It'd be JT. I quickly want to point this because I do see it later down. For those of you that are very panicky that you're starting 0-1, maybe don't look the greatest because you played against like James Cook on Thursday night. Cody has a really good point. Remember last year, Cody went 0-4 and ended up winning the championship. It's happened
That's
before.
crazy.
If you guys are worried, if you guys are concerned, again, it's going to take you to have like the minimal margin of error, but I mean, it is possible. So again, hopefully you guys don't end up in that type of hold, but just know, never lose faith.
Yeah. Let's rip these other two flock questions here, and then we'll get back to the supers.
Yep.
All right. So the one that's on the screen right now, you guys can see, comes in from Jagar here. He said, just wondering if this trade is worth it. What's up?
I don't think we have to spend too much time here. This is a smash for the Brees Hall Rasheed Rice side, right?
Yes, this is a smash for the Brees Hall Rasheed Rice side. I think one thing that we might not want to do, Danny, just going forward is I think when we hit next question, it'll send them the entire part where we answered supers in between. I feel like we need to rip. Is that not how it works?
It'll send them the link for when we answered their question.
For the next, yeah, but like it's from next question to next question. Is it going to send them that entire part?
It's just going to send them the link where we answered it. It's not.
Okay, perfect. All right, yeah, like we'll give them some real analysis here. I mean, AJ Brown already dealing with an injury. Brees Hall is clearly the best player in this deal, and Rasheed Rice is probably worth Pittman and McBride together. Pretty close to it, at least.
The way I was actually contextualizing this is, who would you rather have, AJ Brown plus Trey McBride, or would you rather have Brees Hall? I think it's Brees.
I would rather have Brees, yeah. Especially
and then I would rather have Likely and Light
on that side of the deal. If it's Brees and Likely for AJ Brown and McBride, you would definitely take Brees and Likely, and then Rice versus Najee and Pittman is definitely Rice. So yeah, I think this is a pretty easy trade if you want to rip to blockchain Brett there.
Yep, for sure. Appreciate you for the support on the site. Oh shit, we got to give the winner here. Here, that should still save like that, so we're good here. You should have been linked that straight up. Just making sure. Again, also check on the site too. Afterwards, we can make sure that got cleared. But he's asking to do it without Dubs. Let me know if you would do that. Worst case, feels like he's irrelevant anyways. So basically, what he's saying is he would be giving Puka and Javonte for David Montgomery.
Yeah, not a chance, dude.
No,
not a chance. Not at all. No. I mean, I get if you're scared you're gonna be in a hole with Puka or whatever. What caliber of receiver do you need? Let's say 1-for-1 to move for Puka right now. Like, do you need like Tank Dell or better, kind of?
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with it. I need somebody who's at least a consistent wide receiver two most weeks.
Like, I'm not taking Cooper. I'm not taking Cooper.
DK Metcalf, DJ Moore.
It would be right before the Cooper range for me.
Yeah,
it'd be right before that.
That's the caliber of player I need for Puka Nacua. David Montgomery's solid for sure, but like I probably wouldn't do this. Like, you would probably need to get David Montgomery plus another like solid option for Puka straight, and you are also giving up Javonte on this side of the deal, which I don't believe a ton in Javonte, but he's still worth something.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we would take Puka and Javonte. Appreciate you for sending that in, and I believe we are all caught up. So if you guys want to submit your questions, skip the line. Again, we do that through Super Chat, but specifically, we also do that and encourage you guys to go do that over on flockfantasy.com. Promo code FSC will take you straight there. You guys can submit your start sits, your trade questions, even team reviews that we will be doing off of stream. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So let's rip through some more supers here. We got Bonk in the chatter, Boonk. PPR Flex start to Amari, Charbonnet, Dobbins. This one's brutal, dude. I think I'm going with the two backs there as much as I really like Amari this week.
You have to go with the two backs given the game script for both of them. Charbonnet and Dobbins both projected. I mean, Dobbins against Carolina, the Carolina run defense I ended up watching back some of that game against the Saints. They were just completely discombobulated. Like,
and they don't have Brown now too.
Like, you can make the case. I have J.K. Dobbins as like RB16 this week. You can make the case he could be an RB1. Like, seriously. Like, obviously, we need to see more of a workload share, which is why I have him at 16. But if he went out there and he commanded 70% of the snaps, like, the guy can score 3 touchdowns in this game. And with Zach Charbonnet, like you said, again, not as clean of a matchup. Obviously, the Patriots did upset the Bengals last week. You are looking a little bit murkier there. But at the same time, we trust Seattle long term. We trust what Ryan Grubb was able to show. And I mean, Kenneth Walker, as a starting back last week, had 2 touchdowns. This was a team that I expected to be more pass heavy based on the splits we saw with Washington. But in week 1, we did see them feature their backs quite often.
Yeah, I ended up moving J.K. Dobbins down my rankings. Wow. And it's not because I don't like J.K. Dobbins. I actually really do like him this week. like when I go through like Rashad White versus Dobbins, I'm like, I think Rashad White's in a great game environment. I like his pass catching upside. I like Zach Charbonnet a lot better this week because I think the workload will be better than Dobbins. I like
I'll
Josh
bet you
Jacobs.
Dobbins versus Charbonnet right now,
Yeah,
and I like
we
Charbonnet.
can do Dobbins versus Charbonnet. I'm a little bit worried that Dobbins is only going to get like 14, 15 touches. And if he doesn't break off some long runs, I can't reasonably start him over guys like Jacobs and Aaron Jones and Jerome Ford and Zach Charbonnet, who I think are just going to get really, really good workloads this week. So I'm kind of trusting the touches over the matchup with some of those guys. And that's a big change from my RB tier list video. For those of you guys that watched that video, I had Dobbins RB 16 in that video. I have him now at RB 22. I still really like him. It's just that there's a matter of like much better projections workload wise ahead of him for me.
Damn, you've become a volume merchant, Corey.
I have not become a volume merchant, but
you've
like
become a volume merchant.
Look at Jerome Ford. He had like a 78% opportunity share last week.
Sure,
and he's going up against the Jags, which is also equally as good of a matchup.
Let's not overthink this. This J.K. Dobbins is against the fucking Carolina Panthers that lost 47-10 to the fucking Saints.
Like, right, but the first part of that sentence is it's J.K. Dobbins. It's like he could have a game where like Gus Edwards steals the goal line work and he only has like 14 touches. It's possible.
I think the only way he's not an RB2 or better is if he went down, to be honest. Like, again, not wishing that on him because obviously we fucking hope and pray for him.
He's in RB2 range for me.
Okay.
He's in RB2 range for me. I have him RB 22. I just think, dude, I look at some of these matchups. I'm like, dude, am I going to really rank J.K. Dobbins over Zach Charbonnet, who's going to get like 85% of the work?
The question I have for you is how many touches per touchdown do you think you'll need in this game? Because I think the over-under is 6.5 touches per touchdown.
Yeah, that again, I'm not just going to blindly follow the touches, but I actually really like the matchups for a lot of these guys too. Like Josh Jacobs is going up against the 28th best run defense. Like, how am I going to start J.K. Dobbins over him?
It's a great situation. It's also the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh and the most positive of positive game scripts we could have possibly imagined. I'm not sitting J.K. Dobbins.
I know. Trust me, I know. They're going to run the ball like crazy. I think Gus Edwards might have a little bit more of a bigger role than some of the other backs in the other backfield that I'm talking about here.
I hope you're right. I have to start him in the freaking listener league because Kenneth Walker's out. I have to start Gus Edwards. Because DeAndre Hopkins I'm not trusting DeAndre Hopkins until I see a better snapshot than last week. Like
I'm sketching out because Evan Ingram got ruled out. I'm like, I don't think I have Evan Ingram anywhere, but now I'm like sketching out that I have him in one of my lineups. But I don't think I have Evan Ingram in any league that I'm in.
No, I don't. I will say, by the way, I do want to shout out Sal for this because when he picked up Mason, I just clocked that in because I'm like, oh my God, like he's hidden in the sleeper ADP. So I clocked that in for our listener league, and I picked up Mason right after the draft because I knew nobody would see him during the draft. And now I get a free RB2. And shout out Rob if you're watching this, Rob O'Flavin in the league, but he's been barking down my tree for Mason throughout the last couple of weeks because he has McCaffrey. And basically what he said like a week and a half ago or a week ago is we'll wait and see what more news about McCaffrey comes out. And I'm like, buddy, the price of the brick just went way up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm pissed because I remember after my home league draft was over, D-Bell picked up Jordan Mason right before I could pick him up.
I told him to. I was
pissed, man. I was like, I'm so mad I didn't get Jordan Mason more too, because even when I was doing underdog drafts this offseason, I was like, is Jordan Mason just like better than Elijah Mitchell? Like before we knew Elijah Mitchell was going to be out for the season, I'm like, is Jordan Mason just better? Like I could see him just like outright winning that job.
If I remember correctly, I do actually remember on a stream once we were talking about like, oh, like we are anti CMC, therefore we need to be drafting more Mitchell. And I'm like, I'm not sure. Like I don't even mind the scroll the F down Jordan Mason, and obviously that didn't end up being a scroll the F down by the end of the offseason. But in July, like nobody was talking about Jordan Mason.
No, they weren't. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Anyways, we have so many supers to get through, so let's rip through these. Appreciate all you guys for leaving these. We will try and rip through these now. Dylan says Marvin Harrison over Diggs and Daniels over Stroud. So I would play Harrison over Diggs as much as I like Diggs this week. I think it's a tougher matchup against the Bears secondary. And then I have Daniels one spot higher than Stroud, but it is really close.
So I didn't know where to put Daniels.
The Bears have a good secondary. That's kind of the tiebreaker for me there. And I think that the Giants-Commanders game, like I took the over in one of my parlays on that game because I actually think it has a chance to be pretty high scoring. And the Giants defense, if you just think about how they're built, right? Like they have a really good interior, good edge rushers. I think what they're going to try and do And what's going to be successful for them is just pressure the living daylights out of Jaden Daniels with 4. And I think that's going to result in Daniels trying to scramble quite a bit. So I think he just has a chance to have a very similar output to what he had against the Buccaneers last week, which is just he runs the ball like 17 times for like 90 yards and a touchdown or something.
For sure. I have Daniels ranked at 9 and Stroud at 7 with Dak sandwiched between them, so I don't mind that. Like,
I have them at I have Daniels at 7 and Stroud at 8, and I have Dak at 9. So
yeah. By the way, I was telling you about this, and I actually mentioned this in the short that I recorded today. But for those that are wondering, like, oh, like Dak 179 yards, Cowboys passing offense didn't throw the ball in week 1. Like, should we panic? This is the craziest stat I think I've ever heard. Dak had 156 of his 179 passing yards in the fucking first half. But because they were up 20-3, they just didn't throw the ball in the second half. Threw the ball like 10 times and completed like 5 passes.
Yeah, no, I that's definitely less crazy than that Mac Jones game on Thursday night with the Patriots. That one time where he threw like 6 passes or whatever it was. That is the craziest.
Against Buffalo?
Yeah, that one was crazier for sure.
I think he threw 4 passes in a win. That's smash mouth football I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it is crazy. Anyways, Rolando says PPR or half PPR, sorry. Lazard, Jaden Reed, Wandale. That is very easily Jaden Reed first for me there. And then Wandale and Lazard, like those guys had good weeks last week, but I'm not really counting on that week over week, especially if for those of you guys are wondering, oh, should I like start Lazard this week? Robert Saleh came out and said that Mike Williams was on a pitch count for like 10, 15 plays last week, and he's probably going to have a bigger role. So Lazard becomes a little bit less interesting if Mike Williams is out there a lot more this week than he was last week. Christian says Tank or Brian Robinson at the flex PPR. I'd be starting Tank Dell, but I really like Brian Robinson too this week.
I did too. I think it has to be Tank Dell, but I agree with you there. I also do need to ask you something quick. Can you send the link to straight to our a la carte trade questions and stuff?
It is in the chat. It's been in the chat.
Perfect. Just making sure. Okay.
Yeah, it says it's starred there. Ask a question or get your team reviewed. Flockfantasy.com/purchase and then code FSE is how you do it there. And it's also it is linked right in the description of this stream. It's the first line of the description of the stream as well.
Are you handling the super chat order?
Yeah, I got the supers here. So are your Tank over Brian Robinson, you said? Yeah. Q listed here that he has a 99-cent super. I can go find that quick times.
I can find it. Say in your thing. I don't see a message unless he...
Here, keep looking for it. I'll get to this one first.
I see it.
There you go.
Dobbins, Brian Robinson, Rashee Rice, Marvin Harrison, Montgomery, AJ Brown, Jahan Dotson. Half PPR, pick 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Not sure what to do since AJ is not playing, actually. So in terms of 2 wide receivers, Rashee Rice is the number 1 lock,
Harrison
of course.
Is the number 2.
Harrison's the number 2 lock. I think your 2 running backs.
Dobbins and Montgomery.
I was going to ask you, who do you have higher between Robinson and Montgomery?
I have Montgomery inside my top 18 running backs. Like I'm worried about our defense today. I think Montgomery's going to have a good game. So those 2 would be the running backs, and then the flex would probably be Brian Robinson with AJ Brown definitely out for this game.
Yeah. So Dobbins. Wait, all the starting spots other than Jahan Dotson are taken care of then, right?
Yeah, it's just he was probably because AJ wasn't officially ruled out yet. So he was wondering, should I risk it with AJ or should I just start Brian Robinson? But AJ's been officially ruled out. Thankfully, we actually got some information on that. People probably did some digging for the fantasy football community after the Monday night debacle last week. So AJ Brown, yeah, he's officially out. So for those of you guys that have AJ Brown questions, like he has been ruled out. So you can't play him. You should play somebody else. For example, I had to pivot to Darnell Mooney in one league, which kind of sucks because he was the only available player that I could pivot to. And also to now that he's been ruled out, I can pivot back, but he's actually still my best available option, unfortunately. In our, I think it's in our listener league or in my Wiserhood league. I can't remember which one. One of them, I have to play Darnell Mooney where AJ Brown would have been, which sucks.
Oh, that is not fun. I mean, I'm curious who Badaki ends up going with. He did end up picking up so he is going with Mooney. So he's going with Mooney instead of AJ Brown this week against me. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. I do feel for him. Again, like he got off to a great start on Thursday. I still have a lot of trekking to do. Again, he should end up beating me this week, but the fact that he is dealing with a ton of injuries right now,
Yeah. There's my home league team. I have fucking T. Higgins, Jonathan Brooks. Obviously, he came into the season injured, but I have Jonathan Brooks on my IR, and T. Higgins and David Njoku are both out. So I'm dealing with some injuries as well. JT says, "Hey lads, Kirk and Likely for T. Higgins, 10-man PPR." I mean, if you don't need Likely, which I'm assuming you don't. And
Higgins.
Christian Kirk isn't worth much. I'd probably take the swing on
Can
T.
you get a
Higgins
better receiver though than Higgins?
Yeah, I get it. If you can get a less risky receiver than T. Higgins for sure, but I actually don't hate this. I think this is fine.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm assuming you already have a tight end if you're asking this question.
For sure.
Carlos says, cheers, boys. Traded Reed Ladd for Marvin Harrison Jr. PPR. Yeah, I love that move. I mean, I actually, like, call me crazy. I actually think Jaden Reed, like, once Jordan Love is back on the field, could legitimately be like a top 20 receiver.
But when is that?
But yeah, exactly. When is that? So I think in the short term, you're probably going to make up some ground because hopefully, I mean, let me ask you this, Danny. If Marvin Harrison goes out there and he has a 3 for 25 with a 49 PFF grade, are you going to start to get worried today?
I won't know until I see how it happens.
Well, 3 for 29 and a 49 PFF grade would indicate it was just as bad as last week.
Well, I mean, I would want to watch it myself because I'm not going to lie. Like, according to PFF, Matthew Stafford had a worse game than Justin Fields last week. So
right, I'm just saying.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
As a baseline film measurement,
if he has a bad game, are you panicking? Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have to drop him probably to wide receiver range, 3 range in my weekly rankings until the time goes. But like, he's probably going from a guy that I had ranked as a top 12 wide receiver rest of the season to, I think you have to kind of adjust him to the mid-range wide receiver too. At the very minimum, you have to raise, like, if you don't already have Rashee Rice over him, obviously that's a no-brainer at that point.
There's a lot of guys that could also get up there. Like, if London has a great game this week, he would be way ahead of him. If Olave has a good game, he would be way ahead of him, that kind of thing. So hopefully, just for those of you guys that have Marvin,
hopefully he just smashes. Like,
he just smashes. But yeah, you mentioned it already. Keep crushing it, fellas. Sure. Appreciate you, Sal. Good luck this week.
Appreciate you, brother.
Trade Nico Collins, McBride, and Jalen Warren for JT, Brian Thomas Jr., and Taysom Hill. So pretty loaded question here. I think Collins.
I'm not a fan.
Collins and JT is pretty close, I think, in terms of overall rankings.
Give me McBride and Warren over Thomas
on the Collins side better than the ones on the JT side.
Like, I think JT and Collins are close, but I would still take Collins for the record. Like, I think Collins legitimately.
At the very least, it's close though. So
they're
it's
wash.
Like borderline a wash.
Yeah, like, you're gonna call me. I think Nico Collins has a case to be like a top 10 to 12 player rest of the season. Like, I really do.
No, if we redrafted today, you could definitely make the argument that at the very least he's going at the 1-2 turn.
For sure. Feel vindicated by that. But yeah, just give me the Collins, McBride, Warren side. Unfortunately for you, it's just the downgrade at tight end is just so fucking steep. Like, Taysom Hill is and McBride's top 3. That's what it comes to me. And I like Warren. Like, I think Warren, that's the worst we'll ever see from him in week 1. Played 29% of the snaps because he's coming off a preseason injury.
Yeah, if you guys have, I mean, there's 20 minutes until kickoff here, but if you needed like a throw-in RB2 because you have like a 0 RB or a hero RB build, like Jalen Warren is probably borderline free right now, and he has a much better chance of being significantly more valuable 7 hours from now. Like, I think there's a good chance that they're right. We know Najee Harris and Jalen Warren split. It's usually 55 Najee, 45 Warren. And I guarantee that's what it's going to be this week because Jalen Warren was coming off of a hamstring pull in week 1.
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way,
do you want to hunt for Mars' comment here?
Yeah, and I will quickly say the other news that we saw today is that Marshawn Lloyd is actually expected to play this week. Mm-hmm. So if somebody maybe dropped him in your league because he didn't play in week 1, like, he's the perfect stash to have because this is still an efficient yards creator. And although you don't have Jordan Love on the field, it's similar to that with Jaden Reed in the sense that if Marshawn Lloyd's getting the snaps, he's the type of yards after catch, big play threat comparatively to the other receivers or tight ends in the room that more so need the perfect play of Jordan Love, or not the perfect, but the better comparable play of Jordan Love. So yard creators in bad offensive situations are the ones that you can trust the most.
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing I would maybe encourage people to do too before the games kick off is, like, without Evan Ingram today, like, the buying window on Brian Thomas might slam shut.
It's
like, after what he did in week 1, he looked really good, dude. If he goes out there and has like a 10 target game and like 100 yards or something, like, the buying window will absolutely slam shut on him.
I would rank these options White, Charbonnet, Ford.
I also would rank them. Hold on. Let me take a look. I really like all 3 of these guys this week. I absolutely love all 3 of them. I have White 17, Charbonnet 18, and Ford 21. So yeah, I would also rank them White, Charbonnet, Ford, but I really like all 3 of these guys.
Appreciate the super.
Back to you, Keop 901. Flex Kirk, Ridley, Madison, or Hopkins, especially. I mean, I would have said Kirk before, but definitely now that Ingram is out.
I will say, obviously, I'm not going to be doing this. I'm going to be going with Christian Kirk. But if you told me after this week that Alexander Madison had 7 catches for 43 yards and a blowout because the Ravens absolutely stomped them, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean,
No,
he
I wouldn't
basically
be
did it
shocked
last week.
either. Yeah.
I
Also,
think he had 6.
you're a generational Kirk hater. I've been a generational Kirk stan, and you just absolutely can't stand Christian Kirk.
He's just so sexless. Like, I don't.
He is sexless, but he's probably good for like 7 for 60 in his bad games every week, except for last week. Obviously, he was terrible. But yeah, Cody. Quick shout out again. He said he was 0-4 last year and won his league. Maurice says, "Would you guys start Purdy or Baker this week?" I have them literally back to back, but I do actually have Mayfield one spot ahead.
I don't think they're all that different for me either. Let me check exactly. I don't know when I closed this tab, but here, let me just access this tab.
I will say though, like Purdy with Mason having a tough matchup, it's very possible that they have to move the ball through the air in that game. And Ayuk is due for a bounce back after his bad first game. And I like both of these guys, honestly. I think this is a really lose-lose situation, to be honest.
So I have Purdy at 12 and I have Mayfield at 14. So I do have Purdy slightly higher, but like, I mean, if you just want to attack the game environment, I don't blame you because
for sure. Rob says full PPR. Okay, we got to know this for Stroud versus Mayfield. One running back, wide receiver, and flex from Pacheco. Okay, so the quarterbacks is Stroud for sure, and then the running back, wide receiver, and flex. Pacheco,
Mason and Pacheco.
Mason has to be in your lineup too, and then the wide receiver is Worthy.
That's your lineup. No, it's Worthy.
Flowers and Worthy are close for me, man.
It's Worthy. It's Worthy.
So
it's Worthy.
I have Flowers higher, so I would start Flowers.
Write it down, Spicy. It's Worthy.
Flowers versus Xavier Worthy, full PPR. Yeah. I really like Flowers this week, to be honest. Did we keep score from last week? I do actually have it in front of me.
I mean, if you fucking kept all of them, sure.
I do I do know that you had Keon Coleman as one of our bets on Thursday.
Yeah, I had it versus Kirk, oddly enough.
Yeah, and Kirk is gonna, if he shows up, we'll win that.
If he has one fucking carry for 1 yard, he wins that. I'm not.
James Conner versus Jordan Mason was the other one that we had.
That I like Connor this week.
I feel less confident in that one after today as opposed to Thursday, but I still feel pretty good about it. And then Cooper versus Dobbins again. I
have Dobbins, right?
I mean, I those guys I go back and forth on. I still kind of feel good about Cooper and full PPR in that one, but I'll write this one down for us as well.
Right. Yeah, and last week again, like we probably made like 6 or 7 on stream, but neither of us forgot or remembered to write them down. If I remember that.
What was the other one that we just had? Sharps versus who?
Dobbins.
I had Sharp. Was it Sharp versus Dobbins?
Yeah. Or do we already have a Dobbins one?
Yeah.
Okay, then we could do Sharps versus someone else then. Although
Ford versus Dobbins? Is that what we had? No. Jacobs versus Dobbins was what it was.
No, it was Sharps versus Dobbins. It was Sharps versus Dobbins, but you just said we did Cooper versus Dobbins.
Dobbins versus Sharps. Okay, it is Sharps versus Dobbins.
But if we already did a Cooper versus Dobbins, do we want to change it?
I mean, you're the one who.
I mean, I'm down. I'm down. I mean, if he's, I was offering it to you because when he scores 2 touchdowns against the Panthers,
I Cooper and Sharps I really like this week, and I have Dobbins in my home league, and I have Sharps in the flock league, so I'm very happy with
doing the reverse. I love it. The reverse psychology. I fucking dig it.
Anyways, let's get through more of these because we got a shit ton of them. Superflex scaled PPR tight end premium. Mark Andrews is tight end 1, likely versus London. Caleb versus Fields. So Fields is the quarterback for sure. I do not want to start Caleb without.
This is a 1 PPR 1.5 for. So sorry, 0.5 for wide receivers, 1 PPR for running backs, 1.5 for
It's probably 0.5 for running backs. Wide receivers get full PPR and tight ends get 1.5. That's usually how tier PPR works.
See, because we don't have that context, let's answer it with both frames in mind. So if wide receivers are getting full PPR, you're going with London over Likely.
I would go with London regardless, to be honest.
If London's getting half,
he's getting triple the amount of PPR that London is. The tiered PPR system is always half for running backs.
Okay, I'm sorry, but like again, if it's full PPR for London, 1.5 for Likely, I agree. I would go with London. If it's 0.5 for London and 1.5 for Likely, you're going Likely every single time.
Yeah, we've been doing this 5 years. I've never once had somebody tell me a tiered PPR was not half for running backs, wide receivers get full, and then tight ends.
I've seen it before. It doesn't hurt to answer both frames, but that's fine.
Sure, yeah. And then Fields would be my answer there. Risk 80 Mitchell over JSN. I don't think that's a risk at all. I would rather start 80 Mitchell.
Dude, 80 Mitchell might pop multiple 20+ yard touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Downs is not playing. I would have been a little bit more concerned about Mitchell had Josh Downs suited up. It sounds like he's going to be back on the field next week, and I'm sure he will be a topic for waiver discussion, especially if we see Richardson have a great game this week. But AD Mitchell's my start there for sure.
By the way, that's making me antsy knowing that I have Mitchell on the bench in the Flock League, but I just can't start him over any of my options because although I really like AD Mitchell, I have DeMarcus Robinson one spot higher.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty close discussion. I personally would start Mitchell over Robinson.
Well, the caveat there, too, is he has Stafford, so I do play a little bit of a blocker there.
Yeah. I mean, I have Mitchell, like, they're not even really that close for me. I have Mitchell at 36, and I have Robinson at 42.
I also have Mitchell at 36, but I have Robinson at 35.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. Start 2, Flowers, Marvin Harrison Jr., Olave, and Tank. So I would go Olave and Harrison there, but those
if
guys
you're worried about Marv,
Tank's
Tank's a fine pivot.
I have Zay ahead of Tank, sorry. So I have Zay really high this week. Maybe I'm just stunned, but like I have Zay Flowers at 21, dude. I think they're 8.5 point favorites against the Raiders. The Raiders are shit on defense. Like I think Flowers has a chance to have a couple 9 targets for 75 yards and a touchdown type of day.
It sounds good in theory, but when Derrick Henry rushes 21 times for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, if they have to get up on the Raiders to cover the spread, which I think they will, then they have to score, and it might not be Derrick Henry. It could be the passing game.
It could be, but like, which one are you putting your bet on?
Yeah, I'm probably putting my bet on Derrick Henry, but like, they got to score like 3-4 times before the game gets out of hand, not just once or twice. Yeah. So I think Flowers is a great play this week.
I would rather Tank.
Jaleel McLaughlin or Alex Madison. Here you go. This is your Madison take right here.
Madison all day. I mean, we just talked about the fact that the Baltimore Ravens may very well like beat the crap out of the Raiders in this game. Madison, in a negative game script last week, clearly outsnapped Zamir White, and I believe he had 7 targets in that game. So, like with Alexander Madison, it is completely gross. You don't want to put Alex Madison in your lineup, but when you actually look at his like overall role in that offense and what this game flow could end up being. Like if you told me Madison after the week had 5 carries for 19 yards and 7 catches for 43 yards, it maybe fell into the end zone. Like that's a top 15 running back on the week. That's probably a top 10 running back on the week, as gross as that sounds.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to go hunt for Cody's super chat here, I'm going to keep going because we have a shit ton to get through here still. Frank says,
where's half PPR? What are the supers it's located between? So I know where to look in the chat.
12:11 p.m. is when he sent it.
12:11,
so
okay.
If you want to check around there, Trevor Lawrence or Zach Moss in Superflex, you're starting Trevor Lawrence easily. Frank.
Ayuk, Nico. I almost read AO. Ayuk, Nico, Pickens, Brian Thomas, Amari has 2. Oh my god,
has 2 throwing up gang signs. Jesus.
Wide receivers pick 2. I'm leaning Nico and Ayuk. So Nico is obviously your lock number 1, and Ayuk I think is your lock number 2. Jesus Christ, that middle of that comment went off the rails.
That did go off the rails. Rick says flex Chase Brown, Spears, or Dotson. I'm probably going Spears in the game script that the Titans might have. I think they could be down to the Jets this week, so I would go Spears.
It's so close between him and Brown.
It is, yeah,
like
but I'm discouraged by the game environment in that one. I think that Zach Moss is the guy that they leaned on when the game got out of hand against the Patriots, and they needed him to like stand in and pass protect. I think that could be the case again against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'll trust you on that. You're the running back guy. I'm the wide receiver guy. That's why we delegate those.
RB2 in PPR, Hubbard, Dowdle, Spears, or Chase Brown. Very similar question here. Dowdle. You have Dowdle. I have Zeke rated higher than Dowdle this week.
I think that's fair, but also I want both these backs in a 26.5 implied home game for the Cowboys, a game after they were just completely ruined by game script against the Browns. I think there's a chance the Cowboys put up like 35 points in this game.
So this is a Sal moment for me where I realize that my rankings are wrong.
Who'd you have higher?
Hubbard ranked the highest of this group.
Ew. What? They might score 6 points.
They might, but Hubbard did get some decent usage, but I just moved Spears. Spears is the highest guy here now for me, especially
over Dowdle.
Yeah. I think Zeke is the play this week because they have a game where I believe the Cowboys will win that game. So I think that Zeke has a chance to score a couple times. I don't think Dowdle will be super involved personally.
Write it down, Spicy. Full PPR. I think this is the big time Dowdle jump back spot.
I hope so. I have him in my home league, but I don't think it's going to be the case. So we're going Spears versus Dowdle for full PPR.
Yeah, and for the record, I still think in the long term it's going to end up being Dowdle, but I digress.
Anyways, Robinson. Yeah, that is DeMarcus Robinson. Just make sure you can see that we're answering your question here because that was really fast. PPR Flex, Aaron Jones, Pollard, Jamison Williams. I actually really like J-Mo this week. But I would go Aaron Jones.
J-Mo.
I actually really like him this week. Aaron Jones is like when he's on
He's
the
playing
field.
the Niners, man.
I know, but when Aaron Jones, I have a new rule with Aaron Jones. You know Jordan Reed's old rule where he like when he was on the field, you just play him. Aaron Jones is the same thing.
Maybe, but I think
limited in practice all week, like I'm playing Aaron Jones because he might legitimately be a top 15 running back every week that he's on the field 100%.
I think that's fair, but the non-Bucks fan wants J-Mo against that torch of a Buck secondary.
Oh, I absolutely think we're going to get
you.
torched, but I actually still believe in Aaron Jones over J-Mo, even despite that notion.
Full PPR, write it down, Spicy.
I'm writing these down right now, so
perfect.
You're probably good, Spicy. I have them all written down here.
I want you to write it down too, Spicy, in case Mr. Corey forgets a couple or so.
I'm not gonna forget them. It's right in front of me on my notepad. 2 questions: Jalen Hurts or Kyler Murray? Jesus, what a problem to have. Jalen Hurts would be my answer to that, though. I don't know. Without AJ Brown, does that change your opinion on it?
Nah, it hurts.
Yeah, it still hurts. And then Christian Kirk or Xavier Worthy, that is worthy for sure.
Yeah.
I am going to move Hurts down a couple spots, though. I did have him QB1 on the week. I'm going to move him below Lamar and Mahomes, I think.
I mean, I had him before Allen, and that didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I did as well, but Lamar and Mahomes, I think, still should be ahead of him.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Start Montgomery or J.K. Dobbins, Marvin Harrison Jr., or Nico. So you're going Nico in the second part of this question, assuming you can't start Marvin in the first part of this question because it's a running back question. I have Montgomery higher. I'm sure Danny does not. He already has 2 bets with J.K. Dobbins, so I don't think he probably want to do that. But I would go Montgomery. Danny would go J.K. Dobbins, especially in full PPR. I think Montgomery, like Dobbins has the better receiving role on his backfield, but his role in general is less safe, I think, than Montgomery's. Like the Lions run their whole offense through those 2 running backs.
Yeah, I just think if there's a back I want to target against Tampa, it's going to be Gibbs because the one thing you guys can do is stop the run in the.
We can tackles. Traditionally, but with all the defensive injuries we have, particularly some of our best tacklers.
We did it in week 1.
Winfield's our best tackling player on the field, period.
Yeah,
and he is out.
That's fair.
And Cansey is our second best defensive lineman, and he's out.
That is fair. Sorry,
I'm worried about the run. I think like I'm wearing my Bucs shirt. Obviously, if we win today, I'm going to be hyped. And also, side note, quick plug and quick rec. I could watch John Gruden talk about literally anything, dude. I don't know if you've seen his like YouTube channel.
I saw that. Yeah.
His game breakdown of the Lions and Bucs. I'm transported back to a child when I listen to John Gruden just talk about, pounding the rock and, they talked about the great Mike Vick. How you going to stop him? Not one word was said about how you going to stop this defense. Like I heard all of that shit from John Gruden today when I was watching him break down the Lions game. And I literally can't stop watching John Gruden's content. It's so fucking good, dude. For an old guy, he has like so much energy behind the mic. It's hilarious to me. And he's like, just on the whiteboard, he's like, Yaya Diaby. Let me tell you what about this guy, man. Like he's so awesome, dude. I love John Gruden.
Yeah, he's kind of a beast. I can't lie. He's kind of a beast.
I mean, Dan Snyder got him fucking absolutely tossed out of the league, but whatever. DK Metcalf or Xavier Worthy, because of Gonzalez, definitely a fair concern, but I would still go with Metcalf.
I'd go Metcalf. Yeah, you're getting timed out, Lummy. We're gonna do it how we do it. So thank you.
SS says full PPR Montgomery over London in the flex. Thanks. I'm going London there in full PPR. As much as I love Montgomery this week.
Yeah, I agree. Start Malik Neighbors, Devontae Smith. You have to go Devontae Smith with no AJ Brown.
Yeah, and Neighbors. So I saw 900 million people comment, "Where the hell is Malik Neighbors?" on your tier list video. Also, just full PSA.
I put a comment on it too. I put a comment.
I know. When we do our tier list videos, we always talk about injuries first, and if there's a chance that the guy won't play, we put them in the will they play tier. And without fail, people are like, "Where the hell is Malik Neighbors?" It's like, no, he was in the will they play tier, but he is, for what it's worth, he was like pretty clear. But when you recorded, it was like he popped up on the injury report that day, I'm pretty sure. So
so basically when I recorded, the way I said it is he is expected to play. It does sound like he's fully healthy, but I'm talking about him in case there's a possibility it gets worse, is basically how I framed it. I said, if he does play, he's a top 20 wide receiver.
Like that, because that's what happened to A.J. Brown, and now A.J. Brown isn't playing. So I would play Devontae Smith without A.J. Brown, though, to answer the question. Peyton says, Andrew or Pitts, and Gus Edwards, Lloyd, or Kenny McIntosh. That is a gross second part of that question, but I'm going Pitts over Andrews, Peyton, and then Gus Edwards would probably be where I would go with the second part of that question.
Yeah, I would agree there. Sorry if I'm like half half in and out.
Yeah,
I'm
honestly,
also
dude,
setting
set
the
your
lineup.
lineups because we have so many
Answer
supers
some.
that actually wouldn't
Yeah.
be the worst thing if I just rattled some off anyway.
Good enough, brother.
Would you start JMO versus the Bucks or DK versus the Pats? I would still start Metcalf there, fam, first, even despite the tough matchup. Defense, Texans going up against the Bears. Colts going up against Malik Willis and the Packers. Jaguars going up against the Browns, and Commanders going up against the Giants. That is a lot of really good options there, RJS. I believe my highest rated defense of that group is the Colts against Malik Willis. So I would probably go with the Colts in that situation. Start to of Ford, Najee, Dobbins, or Brian Thomas Jr. full PPR. Jerome Ford is definitely in my lineup. So is J.K. Dobbins there. As much as I love BTJ, I think Ford and Dobbins are just awesome starts this week.
Wait, go back to it. What was that full PPR?
Yeah, full PPR, Ford, Dobbins, and BTJ. And then Najee's fine too, but not as good as these guys.
It's Ford and Dobbins, but man, if Thomas didn't have as bad of a matchup as he did, I'd want to work him in here. But because it is still Cleveland, I'm going to give them the respect they deserve. They were a top 3 defense against the pass last year. You got to go with Ford and Dobbins. But if like BTJ just went out there and cooked them, I would honestly feel like, I could have saw that coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a tough matchup for the Jaguars receivers though against that secondary. That like you want to run against the Browns, you don't want to throw against them typically. AJ Brown out, half PPR, BTJ, Reed, or Ladd. This is an interesting one. Who do you lean here between Thomas Jr., Jaden Reed, and Ladd McConkey? I think they're literally 29, 30, and 31 in my rankings, and I have McConkey the highest of this group.
29, 30, and 31.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Who do I have higher that you don't? I thought I was high on all these guys. So you have JMO lower. Oh, Higgins was there too. He's out. You had JMO lower?
Yeah, JMO's 32. So he's right behind these guys.
The one that I think you would agree you would probably not have as high is going to be like Brandon Cooks.
You have Brandon Cooks over these guys?
Dude, Brandon Cooks is going to go off against the Saints today.
Yeah, maybe, but like I have
no Jake Ferguson, 26.5 implied. I mean, okay, so you know it's a good matchup.
I know it's a good matchup. I'm not putting him over McConkey, Jaden Reed, and Brian Thomas, though.
I mean, Jaden Reed has Malik. We've gone through this.
Dude, Marshawn Lattimore's not playing, bro. CeeDee Lamb might have like 18 targets in this game.
Brandon Cook still might go off because the Cowboys.
Yeah, he might still,
put
but
40 points on them.
Of these options, to me, in half PPR, you could definitely make the argument for Reed because I think
I think Ladd's the sit
touches as well.
Ladd's the sit in half for the record.
Well, it's one, I think. BTJ, Reed, or Ladd. So for me, I have Ladd the highest of this group.
And half?
I saw Ryan Heath put this out. 81% of the time, the Carolina Panthers played zone coverage, and Ladd McConkey had a 36% target share against zone last week.
Yeah, that's pretty dominant.
I think McConkey could feast in this game, man. I think this could also be buying window snapshot on Ladd McConkey after this week.
That's fair. All right. So we'll answer that. We do have a bunch of comments to get through, so let's speed it up.
Yep. Keep going. Rashid Shaheed or Jaden Reed flex. I like Shaheed this week, but I'm going Jaden Reed there, Marshall. 12-team half PPR, 2 flex. Josh Palmer, Brian Thomas Jr. Definitely Brian Thomas Jr. there, Omar.
Yep.
With AJ out, do I go Charbonnet or Brian Thomas in the flex? I'm going Charbonnet there. Jose Cuervo. Just a little. I don't know if that's your actual name or if you just like tequila. Which two in the flex? Rashid Shaheed, Zay Flowers, Jordan Mason. Definitely the latter two. Zay Flowers and Mason. Trident gave us a 99-cent super sticker. If you want to maybe take a look at that, it was 12:27 p.m. that he did that at.
By the way, if you guys wanted to contextualize how we're going through right now, we are such avid degenerates that we set our lineups every single morning of every single day during the week, and we still panic like hell when it's 15 minutes to kick off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know I don't have Evan Ingram anywhere, but I'm just like literally just having a heart attack thinking I forgot about a league where I have him.
I don't see the follow-up from Trident.
Okay. Well, keep looking
for it. If you do leave it below. Oh, he does say here. So I'll just answer this one. Standard league with modifiers, 40+ receptions, on single play.
Dell or Dobbins because AJ is out. In a standard league,
big play bonuses. Keep this in mind.
Big play bonoses. Give me Tank Dell.
Great.
He has a chance to have a monster touchdown in this game. I mean, Dobbins does too, but like I like Dell still.
In a standard, I gotta go Dobbins in a standard, bro. He might score 3 touchdowns against the Panthers.
There's no way he's gonna score 3 touchdowns. Gus Edwards would get at least one of them if that was gonna happen.
We'll see. It's his actual name, actually, by the way. Shout out. So go back up.
It's actually his name?
Yeah.
Jose Cuervo is actually your name? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is crazy, dude. That is so wild.
Yeah, we have 13 minutes, so let's rip.
It's kind of a shit tequila, but it's still tequila, and I'm a tequila stan. So Niner 86, likely
Pitts
or
and
Pitts.
Jacobs.
Yeah, so Pitts and Jacobs definitely where you're going there. Eckler or Kirk at the flex. I'm going Kirk. He has a great matchup now with Evan Ingram out for the game.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas or Najee Harris. Ingram
BTJ.
news interest. Yeah, definitely. I was going to go Brian Thomas anyway, so definitely Brian Thomas there. Half PPR AJ Brown out. So Dotson or Palmer. I would go Joshua Palmer there. Bonk.
Yep.
Morning boys, Kamara or ETN, Mason or Dobbins. So
Kamara
is higher for me of the first two options, and then Mason is higher for me of the second two options. 610 JW also left a question if you want to look for that one. 1229.
1229. What's the name? 610 JW.
Yeah.
PPR Flex, Amari, Charles, or Ford. Playing catch up versus Cook.
Am I good now? I think you might have lagged out for me there, Danny.
Am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay. It's close between Sharps and Ford. I would lean Sharps, but if you want to play Ford, like they are like back to back for me.
Playing catch up in a full PPR, I'm not going to lie. The highest ceiling play here in full PPR is Cooper. If you're playing catch up.
I think Sharps got touchdown equity in a favored game.
He does, but in full PPR, I mean, we know Amari Cooper is capable of point production on a single week like nobody else.
I just don't trust the fucking Browns.
I don't either, but it's possible that he has a monster game if you're playing catch up.
It could. It depends how much catch up. If you're like
I would probably go Charbonnet, but it is pretty close there.
How much win equity would you need to put Cooper in your lineup? Like 20%?
I'd imagine if you have James Cook, if you had James Cook on Thursday night, you're probably like 30% chance of winning at this point.
Okay. My league is stingy with quarterback. Should I drop Watson to pick up Darnold? I'm okay in all of my other spots.
Yeah, Watson does not need to be rostered at all.
Is there any other options? Because again, I don't mind Darnold, but I just don't want to start him against this fucking Niners defense.
I actually have Watson higher this week if you're looking for a quarterback starter. But if you're saying for like your backup quarterback, like I don't think you need either of these guys rostered on your team.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, if you need a quarterback this week, I actually prefer Watson to Darnold. Juwan Johnson or Schoonmaker, Kirk or Cooks? This is a disgusting question. Do you have any insight on how Schoonmaker would be used with Ferguson out? Because I tend to just want to go with a touchdown or bust guy
I believe
Juwan Johnson.
I believe John Stephens is out. Let me just take a look. Is John Stephens Cowboys injury report?
Christian Kirk would be my answer for the second part of that, but would you? Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you're going Brandon Cooks over Christian Kirk, given where you have Brandon Cooks ranked.
Oh, easily Cooks. Yeah, easily.
There's no way, dude. I would go
easily
Christian
Cooks
Kirk over there. You want to do that one? Actually, I already did a Kirk one.
I mean, Cooks is going to obliterate him this week. So
actually, you know what? Let's do it because my Kirk one's already going to win because I have Kirk versus Coleman, who had 0 points.
So John Stephens went DNP is ruled out. So we know that Schoonmaker is not going to have an overall. What am I trying to say? Timeshare at the tight end spot. Again, the only issue I have is I don't know if Schoonmaker is very good, but also on the same time, Juwan Johnson split snaps with Foster Moreau last week. So I think I would just trust the implied points and the overall role that Schoonmaker is going to have.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's definitely fair. He split snaps with Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill's going to be involved as well.
Well, that's why I checked if John Stephens was playing, because in lieu of Jake Ferguson, they actually pretty much split snaps between Schoonmaker and Stephens. So he is already ruled out. So Schoonmaker should have the majority of the snaps at the tight end spot. Although I will say we're going to see a lot more Hunter Luepke playing tight end with Ferguson and Stephens out.
There you go. Cowboys backup tight end analysis. You don't get that anywhere else but here. London and Pickens or ETN and JSN. I'm assuming this is a trade question.
I want London and Pickens.
Yeah, London and Pickens for sure. I don't know. If you needed a running back, I don't think that's an outrageous trade. I think JSN versus Pickens is actually a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
I would take Pickens.
I would too, but I think it's closer than I thought it was going to be coming into the season.
That's fair. I mean, I think Pickens is going to be one of the biggest buy lows in fantasy after this week. He's probably going to get shut down against Pat Surtain this week, but going into next week, I will be buying a ton of Pickens because he actually demanded an alpha level target share in week 1. So if he has another bad game,
sell some more players from his team.
Oh, I tried to inquire about Pickens. I offered him like Demarcus Robinson and Jalen Wright for Pickens just to gauge where he was at. And he's like, oh, I can't sell Pickens like this and that. And I'm like,
I offered him
okay, no
JSN
problem.
straight, and he pretended like it was a horrible offer. I'm like, JSN straight for Pickens seems pretty decent to me.
And I basically told him, so now there's Puka news that he's going to miss the next 6 to 7 weeks. If Demarcus Robinson has a big game and Pickens gets shut down this week against Pat Surtain, you best believe I will be sending another offer after the week.
Oh, absolutely. And appreciate you for sticking around since 5K.
Appreciate that, brother. OG.
Kirk or Ladd in the last flex. I have McConkey like
Ladd.
3 spots higher than him, so I would go with Ladd there.
How caught up are we? We have like 10 left.
We got to get to these before 1 p.m. here. I have Mitchell, Deborah Mitch. Is that who the fuck is that?
I don't know. Jefferson, Metcalf, worthy 14-man PPR. Can I drop Palmer for AD Mitchell for the rest of the season? Yes. Yes, AD Mitchell, I'd much rather.
Yeah, AD Mitchell, definitely, especially if you have that kind of depth.
He looked great, man.
Starting, yeah, I know. As a Richardson manager, I was like, dude, he could have had a monster game if Mitchell just comes down with some of those touchdowns, or if Richardson throws them more accurately. Neighbors or Pickens, I'm going Neighbors there. I also want to trade Neighbors and need a running back. Who should I look to get? I've seen
would not trade Neighbors. Would not trade Neighbors at least until he blows up against Washington.
If he has a monster game this week, you could maybe sell high on him. But like honestly, I don't. I like, as I've said with the Giants already, like Neighbors and Singletary both had floor games last week. They scored 6 points, completely useless on offense, and both Neighbors and Singletary were like fine. They were like RB3s and wide receiver 3s. I think there's gonna be better days ahead for the Giants passing game and Giants running game. So I would not be looking to sell Malik Neighbors. I think that he's gonna be a wide receiver 2 the rest of the season. And if anything, I'd be looking to buy him right now. But then again, that being said, you have Najee and Kyron. Like, dude, you're fine at running back. Like, I know not having McCaffrey sucks, but Najee and Kyron for the next, 6 games or whatever you need to use them for is totally cool. If you can get up to a better running back using Neighbors, obviously, but like I would need to get up to like ETN to get off of Neighbors. Like I would need a good running back to get off of them. Like I'm not
taking ETN straight up for Neighbors. I am worried about the week 1 usage.
I think that's about the range that we're talking about though. Like
I'm not dealing that though.
I'm not taking like, would you rather have Rashad White or Malik Neighbors?
No, exactly. I'm talking, like, I would need higher.
Aaron Jones, like I'm not taking those guys for Malik Neighbors.
The minimum I would need would be like a Pacheco or a Mixon.
Yeah, which you're not going to get.
So I'm not moving them.
Yeah. James Cook, not going to get, but those type of guys as well.
Yeah, James Cook would probably be the line. I think that's actually the correct line.
Need to Pollard, London, Keenan. I would go with the first 2 because I don't think Keenan's going to play. And there's no reason to mess with that anyways. Full PPR, 1 tight end, no bonuses. As of today, Ferguson and Ingram on my IR. Dude,
Parkinson.
Yeah, Parkinson would be the guy that I would go with as well. I also do think if you guys are really desperate at tight end, I think Taysom Hill could have a game today as well against the Cowboys. I think he could be heavily involved.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have Kamara, he might come in inside the 5. A fun fact that I was quoting, I'm not going to spend too much time because we have 6 minutes left, but going into the season, Kamara only had 40% of the inside the 5 carries for the Saints because Taysom Hill is just so involved once they get inside the 5, inside the 10-yard line. And funny enough, you're talking about Gruden. Your boy John Gruden was having an absolute fucking. It looked like he was in love with Taysom Hill the way he was talking about.
Every coach would be in love with Taysom Hill, bro. I feel like coaches love the idea of having as few active players on the game day roster as possible. So anybody with versatility to play multiple positions, every NFL coach just absolutely loves them. Anyways, SoCal or
JK and Olave.
Yeah, that is JK and Olave for sure. Eric says in a pinch, half PPR. BTJ definitely over Demarcus Robinson, but I agree the game environment is good there. But give me BTJ. Standard league, I'm taking Drake London there as much as I love those other 2 guys.
Agreed.
Flex Montgomery, Charbonnet, Ford, or London. Again, I'm going Drake London there, but I really like Charbonnet as well.
It's close to likely or Parkinson. It's got to be likely, and I actually do like Parkinson, but it's likely.
Yeah, it's definitely likely. Half PPR Dobbins or Christian Kirk in the flex. That's going JK there. Ghost Life. Just traded Jordan Mason and Pickens for Ayuk steal. I don't think it's necessarily steal, but I do like the Ayuk side of that.
Honestly, I mean, for me,
I think Mason's value is going to come down to earth this week. People are just assuming he's going to be an RB1 as soon as McCaffrey is out. I think he's a lot closer to Jerome Ford than people think.
No, I completely disagree.
I think him and Jerome Ford are very similar.
He's a better player. He's in a much better offense. I don't think that's
true. Jerome Ford looked great last week.
It's clearly Mason, bro. Come on. Chubb's coming back too. Like, Chubb's coming back before McCaffrey. I'll put money on that.
I mean, Chubb might be coming back as far as like playing
in a
games
much
before
better
McCaffrey,
offense.
but like when McCaffrey's back, he's getting every ounce of the work, and that might not be true for Chubb.
Sure, but I'm taking Mason every time. The point equity alone, again, Ford is a fine RB2-3. Mason's a top 12 running back when McCaffrey's not in the
I
lineup.
disagree. I think they're both RB2.
I disagree with that. I think Mason's
Yeah,
going to give you
I don't know. I
18
like
plus points per
Mason. Don't
game.
get me wrong. I think Mason's a great play, and I think he's an awesome, guy that you obviously got really lucky on if you picked him up. Like, I like Mason this week, and but going forward, I think they're quite comparable. Like, I would prefer Mason, but I think
keeping
they're quite
Mason,
comparable.
dude. I think it's very.
They're backup running backs for a reason, man. Like they're
and
not.
One plays for the Niners and one
better than the other.
One plays for the Niners and one plays for a PDF file quarterback in a terrible offense.
Yeah, but he was also one of the bigger league winners in fantasy last year.
Sure. Jordan Mason looks like he's going to be the league winner in fantasy.
Oh, yeah, he definitely could be the biggest league winner in fantasy this year. I think people being like, oh, yeah, like, oh, Jordan Mason, he's like RB10.
We have to get through these next comments because there's still supers.
Yes, we do. This is also a first for us in the history of the show. We've never had not gotten to all the supers. Mitchell. We're getting close here. This is AD Mitchell for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Nick, I don't know if this is the same question because he supered us twice, but Evans and Ayuk start Purdy or Mayfield. I mean, I guess we would go stacking partner in either case.
Yeah.
I would go with Mayfield, but I think Purdy is like, I don't know. Do you have a preference here? I think
I have Purdy 2 spots higher, but if you want
a lot of sense, I prefer Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, I have Purdy 2 spots higher, but literally, like, pick them out of the hat. They're 12 and 14 for me because I would say Mike Evans in that game environment probably has the higher ceiling, so maybe you lean ceiling there because you do have the stacking options for both. It's close, but yeah.
So we are actually caught up on supers, and just to say that we did not only answer super, going back to the top of the order.
Me too, baby.
Hey, boys, keep up the good work. Looking forward to another amazing season. 2 questions. Josh Jacobs with Drake London. Give me Drake London there. One of Gus Edwards, Chase Brown, Trey Benson, Jaleel. I would take Chase Brown of that option there. Tom, Jordan Addison or AD Mitchell for the rest of the season? I'm taking Addison. I know you're going to take Mitchell. I'm still taking Addison, though, personally. Hey, Sam Darnold looked good enough for me that I'm comfortable still with Addison.
They're close, don't get me wrong, but you're dealing with injuries. You're dealing with what I think is going to end up being an inferior offense. And although A-Rich was a little bit inconsistent in his accuracy, the big plays were there. And I do think once Josh Downs comes back and Alec Pierce is the one that gets off the field, AD Mitchell's going to have the full autonomy of the downfield shots on this team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's definitely possible. I think Addison's still a really good player.
They're both great.
Back healthy, he's going to be heavily involved. And I think that the Vikings looked good enough in week 1 to give me some hope that they could be like a league average offense this year as well. And I'm getting a little bit nervous about my Garrett Wilson versus Justin Jefferson stuff. Because Justin Jefferson himself
I linked that to the Discord.
With all due respect, I'm not Garrett Wilson, which I'm like, you're not, of course. But I did actually draft him over you in fantasy. And I would never say that to your face, Justin Jefferson, but Jesus. PDF file goes for kids over exaggeration. Yes, technically you are correct. He is a pervert, not a pedophile.
Pervert. My apologies.
Hey boys, Jordan Addison. Oh yeah, we already answered that. I'm fucking brain dead.
He's not a good guy is the point. He's not a good guy.
Not a great guy. And he's a sexual deviant of sorts. Yeah. Do I try and trade for Chase? Worried about him this year with potentially sitting out. I think Chase is fine. Yeah. People are worried for, I mean, I'm actually worried about the Bengals offense a little bit, but I'm not worried for Chase specifically.
For sure. But it is 1:00. My Cowboys are on right now. So we're going to have to sign off. Hopefully you guys win your week 2 matchups, whether that's taking you from 0-1 to 1-1, or whether that's taking you from 1-0 to 2-0. We're stacking the dubs this week, baby.
Absolutely. And a huge game for the Bucs today. We need a win. This game with all the injuries.
We'll take care of the Aints for you.
Man, we will be in really good shape for January time if that happens.
You're also a big Cowboys fan this week because if we beat the Aints for you, that's looking good for your.
I have no concern that we're gonna shit stomp the Saints when we play them. So I'm. You can do whatever you want to the Saints.
All I know is the over in that game is gonna hit like freaking nobody's business.
Yeah, I bet. I put it in one of my parlays. I think it's a lock.
But either
Anyways,
way,
appreciate it. Good luck, everyone.
Yep. See ya.